time is already spent, and today we have two things to look at. And so I'm going to invite Dr. Larbi, who is currently a PhD student at the State University of New York, a former student of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, having pursued Doctor of Optometry. As I said, he has been one of our facilitators for OTC, and this evening too, we are happy to have him with us. And so, with that singular honor, I will need all of us to give our attention to Dr. Larbi as he starts his class this evening. Dr. Larbi, please, you are welcome, and you can please start.
So thank you very much, Dr. Adabo, for the intro. I appreciate it. I'm grateful to be here, and I'm hoping that I can share something with you that will be useful for your future endeavors. So last week we spoke about writing CVs, and I hope that you learned something. So one of the important points that I mentioned when we were talking about CVs was getting a repository, getting some sort of life bank, a place where you keep everything useful, everything that you have done that is CV worthy in, so that you can choose from that template, or you can choose from that document what goes into a particular CV that you're applying to a particular company or a school, whatever it is that you're looking to apply for. Sorry, I cannot tell my video on. I think it reduces the transmission quality. So today we'll have to do with audio. So today I'm going to take you through writing cover letters, and we'll also look at formal emails. So without too much talking, I will start. I usually like to start my talks with what things aren't. So I think most people are familiar with CVs and they're familiar with the word cover letter. You might not exactly know what it is, but I think we want to start from what it isn't, and then remove the misconceptions about what cover letters are. Then we can look at what cover letters actually are, and then we can move forward from there. I don't know if that's a mode of teaching that helps, but I hope it makes a difference. So first of all, a cover letter is not a narrative of your CV or resume. By this I mean, so I don't know when you were in high school, or if you are in high school and if you're in university, you make bullet points and then sometimes you have to explain them. That's not what a cover letter is. So a cover letter, you don't talk about everything in your CV with more flesh. So you're not supposed to be describing your CV. That's not what a cover letter is. Also, a cover letter is not a personal statement. For those of you who are familiar with personal statements and statements of purpose, these are lengthy documents that describe who you are in much more detail. And they talk about your career aspirations, they talk about your ambitions, they talk about your experiences. That's not what a cover letter is. So a cover letter is not a lengthy document. Okay, a cover letter is not a lengthy document. And so these are three things that cover letters aren't, because I've seen people present cover letters 2 pages long. That's not a cover letter. That's more like a personal statement. No one is interested in reading something that long just so they have to open up your CV. So you should remember this. A cover letter is not a narrative of your CV. It's not a personal statement. It's not a document that is 2 pages long. So what is a cover letter? So now that we know what a cover letter is and what is a cover letter. So a cover letter is a few sentences, so a few paragraphs strung together that connects you and your CV to the position that you're currently at. What am I saying? So for example, you want to work as the secretary or the personal assistant to the MD of a particular company. The cover letter is going to tell whoever is recruiting what special qualities you bring, okay? How your CV, the experiences, the achievements in your CV, how do they connect with your personality? And how do they make you the prime candidate for the particular position of PA to the MD of a company? So a cover letter is just bridging the gap between your CV, because your CV is bullet points. Your CV are a set of facts. And sometimes facts can be boring, okay? But cover letters bring those facts to life. And this is the tricky part. I'm saying your cover letter is connecting you and your CV to the position. But remember, I said the cover letter is not a narrative of your CV. So you are not going to tell them what's in your CV. You're going to tell them things that are not in your CV, things that are technically not fit for a CV, things that you don't necessarily put in a CV. Okay, that's what a cover letter is. And the cover letter is usually the first contact with your recruiter. So as Dr. Adabo was mentioning, when you are sending your CV to a company, you are usually in this day and age, because most people are not accepting paper mail anymore. Some companies still do. But if you're going to send your CV via email, and even sometimes when you're posting, you might need a cover letter. And this cover letter is the first thing your recruiter is going to read. And sometimes it is what decides whether they look at your CV at all. Okay, so the cover letter is your first contact, is usually your first contact between you, the prospective employee, and your recruiter. It's also an opportunity to show your personality. So cover letters are not as restrictive in the wording as you have CVs. So you cannot be flamboyant in a CV. You cannot use all the English words you know. You cannot write the way you would write novels, or the way you would write beautiful sentences. But in a cover letter, you can. You are allowed a certain liberty. Of course, you have to be formal, but there's a certain level of liberty that is allowed in a cover letter to show your personality, to show more than the facts. So you're not just a number of bullet points. You're not just statistics. You're not just certificates. You're not just skills. You're not just publications. There's a different side to you, and the cover letter opens you up, gives you that opportunity for you to show that to your prospective employer. So I've said this already. It's a document that links your CV to your, it links you to your CV. It's also gives the recruiter a glimpse of what to expect in your CV. Okay, so a cover letter would, first of all, a cover letter, you would include your main qualifications. So if you are a math student, if you're a math graduate, for example, or you're a high school graduate, whatever you are and whatever position you are applying for, you're going to state that in your cover letter. So that cover letter gives your recruiter a glimpse of what to expect in your CV. And you can point out, you can reference certain specific areas of your CV cover letter is. So why a cover letter is important? So a cover letter is important for first impression. Like I said, the cover letter could be your first contact between you and your recruiter. And so cover letters give you the opportunity to make a first impression. And you know, first impressions are really important. When you meet someone who is not dressed properly, you immediately create a perception about them. That perception may not be correct, but because you saw them in that state, you eventually end up creating, you have the false first impression of the person. And that means you start to judge them downward from there. And so with a cover letter, you can create a very good first impression. And even if your CV is not as great, when someone reads a very personal letter, a personable cover letter, a cover letter that gives a good impression of your personality, they are excited, and everything they see in your CV, even if it's not as detailed or your CV is not as exceptional, so cover letters are also more flexible than CVs and resumes, which means that they afford you a little bit more opportunity to elaborate a little bit. Exactly, but I said that cover letters are also not long. And so even though you have some freedom, that freedom is limited with space. And then you use it to get your personality across. I've said that. And you connect to your prospective employer on a personal level. I've said that. So this is why we use cover letters. Okay, so here I have a few rules. I have about 12 of them for personal letters. So if your cover letter is going to be long, the longest I will recommend for a cover letter is 1 page. But even that, you're pushing it. The best cover letters are half a page to 2/3 of a page. Okay, don't push a cover letter to 1 page. If you can afford it, don't write a cover letter that's 1 page long. Okay, that's too long. Secondly, and this is why you don't want to respect your recruit. Who are recruiting receive up to from 70 to 150 emails every day. If you are sending, and before he opens your CV, he has to read a whole page of a document. Do you really think he's going to pay attention to everything on that page? Absolutely not. So don't write a cover letter that is too long. Okay, so your cover letter, half a page, 2/3 of a page at most. If you have to stretch it to 1 page, but nothing beyond that. And like I said, if you are getting to 1 page, it means you are writing too much. If you're writing a cover letter and you're getting to 1 page, I think you're writing too much. And it shouldn't be too short. So I said you should keep it brief, but you don't want to write 1 sentence cover letters. So for example, you write, "Dear recruiter, I am applying for this position and here is my CV attached. Please contact me for further interviews." That's not good. That says nothing. That's dry. That does not live up to the expectation of a cover letter. That's not exciting at all. Okay, so not too short. It has to be personalized. Okay, and by personalized, I mean research the company. If you are applying to a newspaper, if you're applying to a food industry company, if you're applying to a service industry, to maybe telecommunications work company, you need to research the company. You need to know who is in charge of hiring. If you can include the person's name in your salutation, all the better, so that people know that you know what you're talking about. Okay, and if you can include some of the details you know about that company, you know about their goals, and whatever position you are applying for, how can you relate that position with their goals? So personalize it. Okay, what do you bring to the table that will help them achieve those goals? Make it about them. Tell them how good you can be for them and not how good they can be for you. All right. And avoid using "to whom it may concern." Okay. So "to whom it may concern" is your last thought when it comes to a salutation. Ideally, find the name of the recruiter. If you can't do that, do "sir" or "madam." Worst case scenario, and you should not get to worst case scenario, use "to whom it may concern," but don't use "to whom it may concern," please. It's disconnected. Imagine having to read a letter from someone and the address to you is "to whom it may concern." That doesn't feel personal, right? So keep it to "sir" or "madam" if you don't know the person's name. But like I said, if you can find the name of the recruiter using search engines or LinkedIn, wherever it is you can find. So if you saw the ad on a newspaper, you saw the ad on LinkedIn, you saw the ad on Facebook, if you can find out who is recruiting, if you can find out the portfolio of the person who is looking to fill that position you are interested in, you should use their name, if that's possible. A few more rules. Okay, so make it about what you can offer the company and what they offer you. Okay, tell them how good you can be for them. And you should remember that, like I said, if your cover letter is good, sometimes the experience that you don't have in your CV, so you just came out of school, you've never worked before. Okay, so you don't have 5 years of experience, but you may have a good personality, and you can show that in your CV, in your cover letter. Okay, and that could be the reason you get a job over someone else who has 5 years of experience. So a cover letter could actually improve your CV. So there was a survey that showed that if you have grammatical errors in your cover letter, this could be a deal breaker for a lot of hiring managers. And the idea is not that if you make a spelling mistake, then you're not good enough for the job or you're not fit for the position. Is that you are not careful enough to have gone through the document you are sending them meticulously to avoid making mistakes. So if you cannot take the time to scrutinize the document you are sending to the company to avoid grammatical errors, then if you're going to work for a company or if you're going to work as a teller in a bank, what is the chance that you will not misplace a decimal point in the heat of the moment when you are under pressure? Okay, when you were in your home applying for the job, you could not read your cover letter to make sure that there are no spelling mistakes, there are no grammatical errors when you were under no pressure. Now, when you are serving 40 customers and everybody is trying to get their case in immediately, and you are dealing with numbers, if you're not careful enough to avoid grammatical errors, how careful are you to avoid making mistakes of shifting 1,000 CDs into 10,000 CDs? Or shortchanging someone's 10,000 CDs to 1,000 CDs? Okay, so for some people, grammatical errors are a big thing. And that's because they don't represent the grammatical errors on a small scale. They represent they think that represents your personality. Okay, if you cannot be careful enough in a simple cover letter, you might not be careful enough in a job place where there's more pressure. So the other thing is, if you are going to send your CV and your documents physically, okay, so you're going to mail it, you will need definitely to print a separate page for your cover letter. But if you're going to email it, the cover letter has to be the email. Okay, your CV and every other document you need to attach will come in some Word or PDF format, whatever it is they want, attached to the email. But the cover letter is going to be the email. So you don't create a separate Word document for the cover letter. Okay, because then that creates an extra that has to bring extra effort from the recruiter. He has to open this cover letter, read it, and then go on to open your CV, and then go on to open every other extra document you have. No, the cover letter has to be the email. Okay, and the cover letter has to be formal, okay, but friendly. This is important, that you create some friendly atmosphere between you and your recruiter. You have to be careful how you do this. If you're not sure about how friendly you can be, stick to formal. Okay, you can never go wrong with sticking to formal protocol. But if you can blend it perfectly to include some interpersonal connection, some friendly relations that is not going to be looked at as disrespectful, then you are even better off. Okay, and don't use qualifiers like very in your cover letters. They make it seems like you are trying too hard when you use expressions like very and things like that. Okay, so search engines find these things and then they sort of reduce how you be graded. You don't want to be seeming like you're forcing the issue, and don't use emojis on the cover letter ever. So because I said cover letters are part of the email, some people are tempted, and I've seen it before. Some people are tempted to put smiley face and things at the end of cover letters. You don't do that. It doesn't matter who you're sending a cover letter to. Okay. So this is a little guide I have on how to write good cover letters. And the first thing I want you to remember is to state the position you're applying for. A big mistake is some people never do that. You assume that the recruiter knows exactly what position you are applying for. But no, he's probably reviewing CVs and applications for 4 other portfolios. And so if he can see in your cover letter right there exactly what position you are applying for, he's switched on. Okay, so you are applying to be the PA of the MD. You are applying to be a member of their IT tech support team. You're applying to be the data analyst. You're applying to be the house manager. You're applying to be the cashier. You're applying to be the accountant. You're applying to be the chef. whatever position you're applying for, it's important that you state that outright, immediately, clearly. Okay. Now, the next thing is, who are you and what have you done? So right after you state your position, so I am applying for the position of that advertised in this, on this particular platform, if you want to add that, but you've stated the position you're applying for, and a beautiful sentence. Your next sentence is, I am a graduate of business management or business administration or agriculture or whatever, or I graduated with BSc Agriculture from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and I have worked in the past year as this company, or you have worked with this particular group of people. You tell them who you are. Okay. Now, what have you done? So you have helped establish this system for this company. You have helped promote this particular brand. You have helped set up these many NGOs. You have helped create delivery systems for these companies. Whatever it is that you have done, you state it. Okay, whether it was in your undergrad, whatever, something that gives an impression of what you are capable of doing. We'll look at some examples so that you get a clearer picture of what I'm talking about. And then you find some words to describe your personality. Now, when you talk about the things you have done, so you have 1 year experience as a national service personnel for this particular company, where your responsibilities were taking this data, taking that data, liaising with this group of people, coordinating this, organizing events, doing promotions, giving public educational talks here and there, what your experience has been, what have you achieved? So as you did all those things, what were the outcomes? So you mentioned that you were the promoter for this particular product for your company. You were selling ideal milk, the concept of ideal milk, to some schools, and you were able to make this number of sales or that number of sales, which was much higher than the company anticipated. Then you start to talk about your qualities. Okay, you find some adjectives to describe yourself. You are a hardworking, dedicated person who incorporates well with a team. You know, all the nice things you can say about yourself. You put that in a very good sentence. Okay, then now you talk about how would you fit into their specific company. So your company is this, and my personality as this would be useful for your company to create a better working environment. Then you mentioned their company's goals. Your company has a goal A or goal B, and my special expertise in promoting this or that product is going to make me a useful asset to putting your company on the map. So you try to let them feel good about their company, and you tell them what you can do to further their agenda. Okay, then when you are done with those few sentences, you talk about, you tell the recruiter you thank him for appreciating your time, for reading you appreciate his time, and you thank him for reading your CV or your cover letter. And then you go forward to tell them that you are willing to present yourself for an interview if they have the time is appropriate for them. And then you sign off formally. Okay, so the two sign-offs usually will be yours faithfully or yours sincerely. That's ideal for a formal email, nothing else. Okay. Sorry. If you don't know the recruiter, if you don't find the name of the recruiter in any of your searches, stick to yours faithfully. But if you know the recruiter's name or someone referred the recruiter to you, you stick to yours sincerely, okay? Or you can use yours faithfully in either situation. So I thought we could look at a few cover letters. We'll discuss it. I will tell you what I think about it. So I picked these online, and I thought